Welcome to today's lesson, and I want to do a quick demo explaining to you guys what API really means. I know a lot of you already understand how to use Node.js and are looking to transition to become a backend developer or probably a full stack developer. And with this or for this, you need to understand how to build API so you can be able to make them interact with your front-end application. It's common for us to learn how to build front-end applications first before we learn to create back-end infrastructures or servers. So what we have here is a quick one, a picture to illustrate to you better and make you understand what it means. What API means. This is you as a client on the website. All right, we're using the waiter analogy that is very common on the internet. So you make an order, you order the waiter just like this, and the waiter takes your order to the kitchen, right? And then the kitchen processes your order. For example, you want to prepare something like you want to eat jollof rice. You select the order from the menu, and then the waiter takes the order to the kitchen, and the chef prepares the jollof rice, or maybe it's already prepared, just microwaves it, make sure that it's okay for you to take in, and sends it back to the waiter. The waiter now returns the response to you, or returns the food to you so you can now consume it. And that's just the way API structure works. I have other analogies here for you to better understand this. So we have this one, the same thing. So this is a customer, and we have a menu here. All right, this is the menu. You can also relate to an API catalog. This is the customer. You are the customer. For example, you're the client. You visit the website, and when you visit the website, you make a request. You send a request. Let's assuming you just fill the form. You enter your email. You enter your username, your password, and then you click submit. That submit is going to send a request, a post request to the backend, and the API is going to take that request, all right, and take the body of that request, which is your credentials, your email, your password, and your username. You're going to take that request and the body of the request to the backend, which is the kitchen, and the backend is going to process it. It's going to encrypt the password. It's going to store these things in the database, create a table for you, or create a document for you as a user, and then return a response. In this case, you make a menu, you make an order, and the waiter takes your order just like that to the kitchen, prepares it, and then returns it back to you as food so you can consume. And now when the database has successfully created a user account for you, it returns, for example, it returns a token. The API now takes this token and returns a response to you as a user on the client side. For this response, the front end was already have been built to handle the response. You understand what I'm saying? So the token is now used to authenticate this user, and now the user is seen as an authenticated person, so he can now have access to the software, or the client side have access to make some requests, some other requests in the application. You understand? So one more just the same, so you guys can better understand this. This is the user. This is the API, which is the waiter is like the API here, the application programming interface. You understand? And this, the kitchen, is the application. So you make a request, and the request is taken by the API to the kitchen or to the backend, and then the response, when everything has been made, when it has been worked on, when the request has been processed, there will be a response sent to the front end, and it wouldn't just go to the front end; it would go through the API, through the waiter. Understand? So I'm sure with this analogy, you guys will better understand um, how API works. I remember back then when I was still learning API, I had to watch a couple of videos, and I just stumbled upon one video that explained API using the waiter analogy, and that just hit the spot. And so since then, I've been able to understand the whole process and how everything works. So hope you guys understand better, and if you do not understand, just let me know in the comment section below what your confusion is. I can create another video to elaborate more on that and expatiate on making you guys get in a clear view. Thank you for watching, and let's dive in. What we're going to be creating today is a simple backend server or a REST API that is used to handle dishes for our restaurant. We have a create dish route, we have a modify dishes route, and delete dishes route, and also a get all dishes route to return all the dishes. That's where we're currently in. So we currently have just one dish, and it's called eba and egusi soup. And then this is an African meal from Nigeria. So and here in the create dish session, we want to create other dishes. So what we have here is an ID of 4. So let's say we create dishes for 3, 3 and 2 and 1. So I say I'll call this something else. Call this rice and stew. Alright, and I send that, and I also call this ID 2, and this could be doodle and beans. Alright, so and doodle and egg. That's it. So it's good too. Yeah, so we want another for 1, and this one we could name it bread and tea. Alright, so cool. So if I go back to the old dishes, we see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 items here: about and egusi, rice and stew, to do an egg sauce, and we have bread and tea. So also we have to test out the modify session. So for the food item with ID of 4, we want to modify that, and we currently don't have any jollof rice here. Take note, and if I send this to modify the food item with an ID of 4 and change the name to jollof rice, you see that successful. And if I come back here, I send, it has been updated to jollof rice. Awesome, great. So it works. Now if I want to delete something, I want to delete let's say I want to delete an item, or the third item, or the idea of 3, that's rice and stew. Let's say I want to delete the food item with an ID of 3, which is rice and stew. If I send it, then successfully deleted, I get this message, which is pretty cool, and as well status of 200 as well. Everything is okay. And if I run this again, we cannot find the food item with an ID of 3 because it has been deleted. So this is what we're going to be creating. We're going to work on this. It's not hard. We're not going to use a real database. We're going to use just an array to store this objects, and we're going to use an array method as well to modify the objects to get the object. And we're going to use array just an array. All right, so we're not going to interact with any real database. But just let me know in the comment section below if you want me to create another video where we talk about MongoDB and also build a project, or probably something like this also, but integrate a real database and a real work to it. Just let me know about that. So this is what we're going to be working on. Let's dive in without no further ado. Alright folks, let's get to work. And having installed Node.js on our environment, it's time to get started. So I'm going to open up the terminal, and I'm going to say npm init and -y, which is just reply yes to all of the questions. And with that being done, saved me a lot of time and generated a package.json here for me, which is awesome. What I want to do is create a new file, and I like to call my entry file server.js. Alright, and inside of my package.js, I'm going to change my main entry file to server.js. Alright, and so what I love to do is I love to use Nodemon, but just feel me. In a second, I'll explain to you what Nodemon is. So right now, we're going to use Node.js, just Node.js. We're going to have to, close the console, the application, and then we run it again every single time. You will not understand what that means in a second. Okay, just bear with me for now. So server, in our server.js, what we want to do is since we're going to be using Express.js, we want to really install Express in our application right now. So we're pretty much going to be using Express and Nodemon. All right, we're not going to be using Mongoose or MongoDB right now. I'm going to introduce that on a later video. So for now, all we just need is Express. I should have installed them together, but just give me a lot of time to explain, I guess. Nodemon, this is how you spell it, Nodemon, just like that. All right, so Nodemon, what's wrong with it? Oh yeah, I guess I didn't spell the command properly. So we can leave that and it will install itself. Now we have Express installed. We can say const Express is equal to require, just like this, Express. All right, we can do this the old-fashioned way, or we can decide to come here and say type, right, is equal to module. There are two options here. We can either say CommonJS or module. If we use, by default, Node.js is CommonJS, so we're gonna indicate that we want to use module. So if we're using module, we're not going to be using this require syntax. We're going to be using the import syntax. All right. So something like this: import Express from Express, like that. Okay. So I want to say now app, okay, is equal to Express, right? Let me call it like that. Perfect. Now app dot listen, okay, app dot listen to port let's say 45,000, and we're gonna console or log some message to the console, which will be app running. All right, app running on ports. I like to say ports, right? Like this. So good. That means we now have ports, so we have to also create ports. So we're gonna say ports here is equal to what is it again? Process.env dot ports for 45. Okay. So yeah, we can just right, 5,000. Okay. So while you're saying process.env port is because most times when you deploy your application, there's always an available port in the environment of the server you're deploying the application to. So most times you want to use the port that is available on the environment of the server. But if there's no port available, then you can use this. So most of the time, this is for production and this is for development. So you should take note of that. So if I now I have Nodemon installed. So if I say node server.js, right? So now I have the app running on port 4500, and if I go to the browser and I say localhost 3,500 and run it, cannot get. Okay, why are we saying this message cannot get? Well, it's because we haven't handled any request at all. So the server is running, that's what we get cannot get, obviously. Because if I say localhost 3000, see that I say this, I get this site can't be reached. This is my response, just an empty page. But we're getting this cannot get because there's a server running on this port, but the request is not being handled. So how do we handle the request? What we can do now is to say app.use, right? We're gonna use the first or any the base URL, and we're gonna get the request and the response. We put in our parameters there, and then we're gonna return this. Yeah, so we say response.send and send a message, and it's going to be hello world, regular hello world that we all use. But most times, I personally don't like to use hello world. I like to say um, where's fine. Just gives me that good feeling that everything is okay, and yeah, that is it for that. And you see, what we have to do here now is that if I come over to the page and I refresh, nothing happens, and if you feel like it's a bug or something, so most times you can actually forget about your server running and having to stop and rerun it again before the changes can be implemented, especially because I have my VS Code on the autosave. So that can be a problem, and that is the reason why we use Nodemon. Okay, that is the reason why we use Nodemon. So I'm gonna come over to my package.json, and I'm gonna create a script here, and I'm gonna say start. I'm gonna run the test script because we really don't need that right now. So the test script, and we're gonna start script. I'm gonna say it's gonna be Nodemon server server.js, right? And that should be that. So do I cancel the command or the process and run node for npm starts, then Nodemon takes over everything. So whenever we make any changes, it will watch all our files, and refresh again, you see app works fine. All right, folks. Here we are. The server is running, and what we have to do now is to get to work. So we need to start by initializing our variable to store data. So we want to store food items, right? We want to store food stuff, and we're going to use the dish variable, an array. It's going to be empty. Just initialize it to an empty array, so we can add stuff into there, and we can also modify the things in there as we go on. So we need to first of all, we're going to be working with JSON over the request, send JSON over HTTP request, and for us to be able to handle JSON requests in Express server, we have to enable some middleware, and we're going to use Express router. Am I typing Express.json to handle JSON responses, right? JSON via request. And if you disable this, you notice that it doesn't work. When we're done, you can test it out. You can try and see when you comment out this line of code and you send a post request to the server, you notice that it doesn't work. Okay, so it's very important that you add these two lines of code here. It's very important. Okay, so after this, now we want to go over to creating our routes. All right, I want to create the routes. Yeah, so now we create another route. We're going to create the routes to create dishes. All right, so create dish routes, and then we take in our parameters, the request and response parameters we're going to use, and now the logic for creating dishes. Remember that we're working with an array, so we're trying to keep this simple for you beginners. Now we have to spread the already existing dishes inside of our new dish, understand, so that we do not lose track of the dishes that we already had. So we're trying to make it non-mutable. We're not mutating the original dishes, we're just creating a new one with the former one inside before we add the new dish. You understand? Now we send the response to the user, or send a response back when it has been successfully created. A message successfully created and a status will do just fine. Alright, you see how we set the status to 201 there, meaning created successfully. You're gonna learn a lot about status code. Just don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. I'm planning on creating backend development series for you guys featuring authentication and lots more. So right now we're done with the create dish route. We want to I like to keep my code neat by adding some comments. Alright, so later in the future it'll just get me so easily up and going. I look at the code, I just know exactly what I do. Even though what we're doing here is very basic, very fundamental, still I'll advise you to get used to the habit of commenting your code. It's something that I've already gotten used to over time. Now we're going to create a route to retrieve all the dishes. Alright, all the dishes, not a single dish. Alright, great. So here it comes. We take in the parameters, the request and response, and then we send a JSON of all our dishes. Just that, as simple as that. It's just sending a JSON of all our dishes. Now, if you're like me, you come to fall in love with Express.js. It's very easy and very straightforward, just like Flex for the Python developers. But we're talking about Node.js and Express, so let's keep to that. Now I add in a status of 200 to make sure, let the user know that everything is okay. You know that status code is very important. Understand? For the front end, when you're handling the response on the front end, status code could be important as well. So we're gonna create a delete dish route now. To do that, we're gonna use the delete method, and then we add in a path, the delete dish, that is our route, and the request and response parameters, and then we need to delete. How are we going to delete? First of all, we need to get a dish ID from the body of the request. Alright, request the body.id, and then we store that in a variable dish ID. So we need to now first console or log this dish ID to the console, so that we can know that everything is okay just for development purpose and sake of coding. And then what we want to do next is we want to after this we want to search. Want to do a search. I want to find the ID of this particular, it's not the ID, right? I want to find the index of this particular dish that we want to delete. Okay, so we're using the find index method because if it finds this ID to match the ID in the dishes array, then it's going to return the index of that dish. But if it doesn't find it, it's going to return -1, right? So we could use that to check if the dish was found and if it wasn't found. So later in the future we can add like an error response for that as well. But if we find the dish, we just want to go on and delete it. Dishes.splice. We put in the index that we want to delete and how many items we want to delete, just one, and that is it for that. We don't return a response. So we return a response after this, and the response to the user, letting them know to the client side in order for us to successfully handle the request. Alright, we need to send a response and let the client know that the request has been successfully handled and that the dish has been deleted just as requested. Right, just like saying just like the waiter analogy earlier, when you request for
menu or food item on the menu. The waiter takes it to the chef, and then when the food is prepared, it wouldn't just be in the kitchen. No, the waiter had to take the food back to the customer, right? And let them know that this food is ready, and here you go. You can start to dig in. So that is what we're doing here. The same thing. It's very similar. That's why I love the waiter analogy. All right.
So good. We're done now. All we have done with return our response on the status code of 200, and so the client side application gets this response and is able to we're able to handle the response properly. And the next route, the last but not the least route we want to work on is the modify route. And there we are going to modify the dishes. So like an update, making an update to the dish. Alright, so router.put, we're going to use a put request to make this update, and the route is going to be called modify. So we're going to take in the regular request and response parameters and a callback function. So all we need to make this modification, we need the dish ID, of course, and we're going to get that from the body of the dish. Request the body.id. Alright, and let's log that to the console so we know that everything is fine and we're actually getting the ID. Good. Now, what we want to do is we need to grab the new modification from the body, the request the body. So everything the request the body is a new modification, you understand? You're updating the dish. You're updating a particular dish via the index. So we have to find the index and we have to replace that index with the new dish. It's as simple as that. Okay, now the find index is going to return, we've used this severally before, it's going to return the index of the dish when found and -1 when not found. So we could use this to better make the application more dynamic. Alright, so we're going to log the dish index also for development's sake, to know that everything is fine and be able to easily identify errors if they might occur. Alright, so now what do we want to do is we want to do a check. We want to check if the dish exists. If it exists, we're going to modify it, and if it doesn't exist, we're going to return 4 not found. Alright, so we're setting the actual index of the dishes in our dishes data or our dishes record to the new dish. And we're returning a response of 200. Okay, and the JSON response with a message, a standard response, successfully modified or successfully updated dish. And we can actually make this a little more dynamic by adding the name of the dish that we just modified, right? So the index of the dish, right, and the name. Alright, so we quickly create an else block, right, to return a response to the client side when the dish is not found. So there will be a status of 404, which is a not found server error and a server code, and then a JSON of a message containing not found and the status code, of course. So with this, we have come to the end of our server-side implementation. So the next thing for us to do will be to test it out, test out our routes if everything works fine. In a real life scenario, you want to use some testing library to actually implement this test. For example, you want to add something like a jest or mocha to test out your routes and see if it gives you the actual response, status code, and everything that you require it to, give. All right, folks, ready your HTTP request client-side testing application. I'm gonna be using Insomnia. I believe it should all be good to go. So like I said, npm run start if we're using Nodemon. So now this is the wrong command. Npm start. If I could type that properly, npm start, and Nodemon should take over. So we're running a port on 3670. So yeah, 3670, and check it out. Always good. So we want to check out other ports. For the first route we have here is create dish. So I'm gonna duplicate this, right, and we're gonna call it create dish, right, and it's gonna be a post request, right? It's a post request, and it's going to take a body, right? So new dish request a body. You can see that. So we're gonna have to put a JSON in the body on the request. So yeah, so the dish has got to have a name, and we're gonna say I'm gonna call it Eba and a Gucci soup. Right, this is some African delicacy. Right, let's see. There wasn't any specific. That's the reason why I love to use TypeScript. So you get to know if we're using a database and the schema, you get to know kind of uh, what kind of open properties the object or the body really needs. So there's no specification here, so I guess we can just put in anything. So name, let's say category, call it a category, and it would be like swallow, food, and say rating, or yeah, rating. That'll be 4.5. The number. So if I send this, let's see if it works. So there's a problem because all is good. We're still making a request to the base route, which is not what we want to do. We want to make a request to create these routes, which is what we have here. So let me try that again. We successfully created a dish. Says 201 created. See, because we updated the status here to 201 and we added a message, a JSON message. So we can actually make this send, or we can also make this JSON like this. Whatever we do, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. We're gonna get the same response. All right. So Express already knows that we're sending a response to the front end. So that's the cool thing. All right. So yeah. So on the test of the route, we have the all dishes. But before we do that, I want to create like a couple more dishes. So we have at least like 3 dishes to display when we're on the all route. So let's say jollof. I mean, most of you know jollof rice. If you're Nigerian, if you're African, you definitely know jollof rice. Jollof rice, and this is rice, and this is definitely a 5.0. And I'm gonna create that dish, and we're gonna create another dish. I'm gonna create egg and bread, some breakfast delicacy, and I'm gonna say egg and bread. It's more like Let me just call this. I'm gonna leave category out of this. All right, this we can just give it. We can just say breakfast. Doesn't matter. So send this. And it's all for the test purpose. And I want to add one more, just one more. Just one more. We made a mistake because we're supposed to have created this using an ID. We're supposed to have added an ID, the dish ID, request a body ID. We're needing the ID in the application. So I guess I have to go back all the way. First, let me demo the get all dishes. Alright, we're gonna create the dishes over again in a minute. Get all dishes, and it's gonna be a get request. And what's the route? All dishes, all dishes. Alright, and we don't need a body for this one. 5%. No, I guess no, no. No. Are we getting no? Let's see if we get anything wrong. Get all dishes. Okay. Now let me restart the application first of all. There doesn't seem to be any error, so I'm going to restart the application. And this time, while I'm creating the dishes, I'm going to be careful to add some IDs. All right. So the first ID is going to be one, but egg and bread is the first item. And let me see, get all dishes. Let's try that again. Still getting no. So I'm gonna have to debug this, find out what's going on. Right. The only reason why this would actually happen is if I did not handle JSON response. Oh yeah, that's actually the reason why we're having this error. There's no handling of JSON response in the server, so that is why we're having undefined. Sorry about that, guys. So we're gonna have to do that now. Yeah, I'm gonna say app.use express.json limit. Alright, so found the solution because we didn't handle JSON response in the server. That's the reason why whatever JSON response we send to the server, we're always getting undefined. So with this line of code, everything should work fine. This is a way of just like just like body parser, but in Express is a way of handling JSON response, you know, with the Express. So Express the JSON and then limits, and you're gonna say 5 MB, 5 MB, and yeah, up to use um, Express, Express, dot URL included, extended, true. All right. So I think with this now done, everything should work fine. So what I want to do now is I'm gonna create some more dishes. We have this first dish. I come back here and get that it all works now. So yeah, that is that. So we're gonna create another dish. ID2 name. Um, I love Eba. So this is gonna be Eba and soup. Alright. And now this is swallow and create that. Alright, so three we have for rice and beans, and this is just regular, rice, and I'm gonna give that 4 rating. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna create a fourth item, number 4, and this is gonna be uh, this is gonna be um, let's say pastries. All right, pastries. If I can spell them up, and particularly there's gonna be pastries. I'm gonna give this 3.5. Now I need some food. If I go to get all dishes, we see that we get everything. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 items with the IDs corresponding as well. So the next thing we want to do now is to go and create other dish. So we have create dish route. We have the old dish route already implemented. We need to modify dish route and to implement this modified dish route. This is probably going to be the last one. So I want to test out this delete dish route first. You need to notice something. We have a dish ID variable here, a constant, and we're getting the dish ID from the body. So we're gonna have to put in a property in the JSON body as a dish ID so that we can be able to identify which of these which of the data in our database that we or in our records that we want to delete. So I want to delete the fourth ID for the fourth item, which is this pastries, I don't know. I'm going to delete that, so I'm going to create a new route first of all by duplicating this one we have here, and I'm going to say delete record. Alright, like that. So delete record is not going to be a delete get request, it's going to be a delete request, and here it's not an all dishes, so we're going to modify that as well. So delete dish, we have delete dish, right? And let's see what happens first of all. Dish has been deleted, but dish has been deleted. See, because there's no error handling here. So dish to delete, find index, and next thing to log dish deleted. And so what I want to do now is add a quick uh, error check when it's done. So this is gonna be something like if dish to delete, right? If dish to delete is equal to -1, then we're gonna do a response saying response status, which is gonna be 404, which is not found in the JSON. Send a JSON response back and say um, message, right? Not found. Status is going to be 404, and detail dish. Let me get a little more dish with the ID of dish ID was not found. Alright, like that. So when the dish is not found, we get to return this response, and when it's found, then we say we splice the dishes array by removing its current index and removing one item. We don't know how to use splice method, and then we return a status of OK, and with that message you saw right here. So I'm going to try it again. It's not found for dish with the ID. It's not found. So we're now handling the error properly. So that's what we want to do. So now I'm going to add in a body, a JSON body, and put in a real dish ID. See if it works. Dish. First of all, I want to actually know that we're not using a database, we're using an array. So when you restart the application, it all goes down. If you restart the application, it all goes down. So I have to create the dishes again. 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 So I have to using another application. Number 3. Number 1, the counting down, and it's going to be the week is here too. Alright, this is the declaration of that. So find the average 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to delete number 4. So now let's see. Deletion number 4 is dish ID. Number 4. Send this fine. Now I have to go edit that code again. So I guess it just deletes anything. It deletes the last index of the array. This is not what we want. Definitely not what we want. So we have a terrible delete route there, and we're gonna have to review it. So what do we have here? We find the index of the dish we want to delete, and if it's -1, we return not found. Not -1, then we delete from the array. Which one is the first one is found? So I'm going to see not equals -1. Then if not equals to -1, then we're going to delete it and send the next one. So if it is anything other than -1, if anything other than not -1, then it's going to return these reference. I'm going to create a quick one, just this one, to demo the delete and see if it works. So what we have is an ID of 1 and ID of 134. What ID are we using? Okay, I see the problem now. So dish ID is where's the body.id, not dish ID. So this is where the is coming from. It's going to be ID and not dish ID. So that's the problem we had. And by send, dish has definitely been deleted status of it, and come up with it all we do not have any. So in order for us to know that this actually works and is deleting the right item, we have to create at least 3 more stuff, and for that I'm not going to modify everything. I'm just going to modify the ID so that modify on only the ID so that we can save up our time. One, two, three. So we have ID 1, ID 2, and ID 3. Okay, if I come over to delete route and I want to delete the third ID, and I delete dish would also definitely delete it. Come to get all again and see that the third ID has been deleted. That's just to be sure that I'm not deleting the last index of this array. I'm going to come right here to delete record again and delete the first index. And when I send that successful message and go to all the issues, you have only 2 left. So there we have now the idea of 2 left. So delete record works perfectly fine. Now onto off that, now we want to modify record. So we want to be able to modify our record database. For example, so we will be a pull request and not a delete request. So we have a pull request here and definitely something like modify. Okay, what do we have there? We have the modify, and we're going to have the item we want to modify here. So first of all, what have we done? We extract the ID of the item from the body like this, right? And then we just for the sake of development log in the ID to our console here to the terminal so we know what's going on. And then we have a new dish. The new dish is wherever we have in the body, okay? And wherever we have in the body, that's what we're going to use to replace the existing dish. So we're going to get the index of the existing dish. So dish index is using the find index and checking if the ID of the current dish or the iterated dish in the array, the dishes array, is equal to the dish ID here we have on the create body. If it's a match, then we've gotten the actual dish that we want to edit or modify. So this returns the index, and that's great because we just need the index of this dish that we want to modify. Then we go on to user index and check if the index is not found. This means if it's not found because it will either return the index or it will return -1 if it's not found. The find index method. So the index, if it's not found, then we want to just set the index to the new dish. All right. The dishes is not equal to. Oh, sorry. This means that if the index is found, all right, because if it's not found, it's going to return -1. So I'm going to cut that out. What this means here is that if the index is found or the dish is found, right? Because if it's not found, it's going to be -1. But if it's not found, then it means that it's found. You understand the logic? So very simple logic, by the way. So we're going to update the dish index because it's found to the new dish, and then the status of 200, which means okay, and a response like this, in the name of the dish that was updated and all. But if it's not found, then we're going to return the status of 404 and say that dish is not found, and with this message here too. Let's go and check it out and see if everything works. So we do not currently have any dish as you. We only have 2. We're gonna create this I'm gonna create one. I'm gonna call this and ABC. Send it, and now we have 2 items. I'm going to create a third one and call this something. Alright, and okay, so if I go to the get all route, we have rice and stew, we have soup, we use water, we have something and water. So we want to modify the something to another something. This is an ID of 3, and because of that, we're going to use the ID of 3 here, and I'm going to change this for the properties, give it an actual name. Let's call it yellow, and actual category. Let's call it nice. What else do we give this thing? A rating. So we're gonna give it a rating. That is a 5.0 for me. So if I click the send button, definitely updated the dish jollof rice. Alright, so you get the name of the dish right here because of this strength interpolation we have here. And if I check the get all dish route and send, see that it's been updated successfully. Alright, so that is what it is. That's what we've done. We've made some modifications to this. So this is everything we've done, and let me know in the comment section if you want us, if you want me to create another video where I actually implement a real database and interact with the database using schema like MongoDB, and you know, creating something like this, a crude application as well. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe.